I thought it was only fair to cover another in the Glendronach range. So today in this tiny little gold top bottle we have Glendronach 15, the more recent incarnation of the Glendronach 15. I don't really know that I need to specify that now because the original or older one was from 2014, I believe. Legendary whiskey. Everyone still laments the fact that, you know, it no longer exists, but this is the newer incarnation, as it were. Still 46%, non-chill filtered, natural colour. I have tried it previously and I've really enjoyed it, so I thought it was only fair to actually bring it to the channel. We've covered Glendronach before. We've covered the 18-year-old, the Aladis. There'll be a hoo-ha doo-dah card, that's the word, up in the corner for that. So I'm intrigued to see how this one is going to play. I've had the whiskey in the glass for about a quarter of an hour now, so it's had time to air and breathe. But before we get into that, I want to quickly talk about this little sample bottle because it's a little more unusual, isn't it? There's a new sampling company on the horizon. They're called the Sample Guys. They launched last week at the time of recording this, and they've got a pretty well-stocked selection of samples. So I bought a kit. Well, I bought 5 until, well, no, I bought 4 and a 5th one came with it. Yeah, that's right. I want to quickly say as well, this is non-spawn. I just, you know, buying habits. Although, sample guys, if you want to send me a load of whiskey, feel free. I'm not going to stuff you. 30ml samples, so same as things like drinks by the dram and stuff like that. Pretty standard sample measure. One thing I will say about them, however, is the wax is a bit of a bastard. Much in the same way that Pickering's, how they wax, is a bit of a dick. It's not the easiest to get the cap off of. I don't know why, but for some reason the drinks by the dram ones are just really easy to get the wax. I don't know if it's specific to the kind of wax they use or what, but yeah, I've had to actually like cut the tops off of these in order to get into them. Maybe I'm just rubbish at opening wax things. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But anyway, we've got the Glendronach here. Now then, Highland Distillery, I'm sure you can read all about it. If you've come to this video, chances are it was either an accidental click or you already know a few things about Glendronach anyway. But they are pretty legendary amongst whiskey fans for knowing their shit and doing some good stuff, basically. This particular one has a cask maturation split between Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez. Pedro Jimenez being a really sticky, sweet, luxurious sherry, and Oloroso being more kind of like an off-dry kind of a aged wine. So it's interesting to see kind of what influence that is going to have. The nose is yummy. Plums, bit of apricot, a little bit of honey. No, I'm going to say golden syrup instead. There's more kind of like a, now like golden syrup almost has like that salted caramel twitch to it. Twitch is a weird word to use for food, but you get what I mean. It's like it's closer to salted caramel than it is to, say, I don't know, just like normal caramel. What am I saying? Yeah, I'm doubling down on golden syrup. I have that frame of reference because I recently made flapjacks. I may have destroyed an entire tray of them by myself in one night. I should feel bad about that. I really don't. A little bit of like freshly brewed French press coffee. A little bit of like milk chocolate in there as well. There's something like stuck your face in a Madeira cake. That's a thing that people do, right? Sweet and unctuous with a bit of fruit if you wanted a TLDR kind of a version for that. One of the first things that you notice when you drink this is that it punches you in the face with flavour. Dried mangoes, walnuts, candied pecans, raisins. Really strong flavour of raisins on this one. Candied peel, there's like a citrus component to it. It's like a brown butter edge as well. It's a dangerous sipper. It's really inviting and cosy. It's not overbearingly sweet, but it has kind of like confectionery components to it. The Oloroso and the Pedro Jimenez do a good job of kind of like rounding out the whiskey without being overbearing. Sometimes sherry can really overtake a whiskey. This doesn't. It just complements the whiskey. And it's really easy to see why it's a very popular addition to the Glendronach line. I'm going to stick a teeny tiny bit of water. I honestly don't really think it needs it, to be honest. If I were sipping this as is, I don't think I'd put any in, but for the sake of... There we go. I've not put too much in, because again, I'm worried about drowning it. I really don't think it needs it. But I'm curious to see if it does open up with like a splash of water in there. It's got a little more nutty. It's like a pine nut kind of a thing. It's quite like a buttery toasted nuttiness. It's like a toasted cornflake. If anyone's ever tried making like cornflake tart at home, there's still like a sweet richness on the nose. I want to say like dried pineapple as well. There is... Yeah, let's go with that. I'm confident enough to say there's a hint of pineapple in that. Quite confectionery led with some fruit elements to it as well. So it's got a fair bit. It's got a little bit for everyone, unless you're big into your smoke, in which case, okay, this doesn't have much to offer for. In fact, it doesn't have anything to offer for you. Makes the flavours that are there a little more delicate. First thing it's reminding me of is Nuttiness caramel wafers. There's a sugar component, there's milk chocolate, there's kind of like it's like a wafery biscuitness to it as well. So put it all together, you get a Nuttiness caramel wafer. That massive hit of raisin isn't really present anymore. It's replaced with a much more dry, kind of like a raw plum. The chocolate's gone from milk to a much higher cocoa dark chocolate, kind of like an 80%, really punch you in the face kind of rich chocolate. Which is odd, because normally these go the other way around. Normally they start kind of more dark chocolatey, and then when you add water they go close to like a milk chocolate. This has done the opposite, it's switched it. Maybe it's just me, it could entirely just be me, but probably people are watching this being like, what are you on about? It doesn't taste like anything. It doesn't taste like licking wallpaper. What are you on about? Taste and notes are subjective. Although if the whiskey does taste like licking the wall to you, then I don't know. Medical advice might be an idea, unless you have delicious wallpaper. In fact, you know, fair enough. It's like a tannic quality, like black tea to it as well. Like, you know, you've just left it long enough. In fact, I'm going to go with like if anyone's ever had dried figs, that's in there as well. That was the Glendronach 15. It's quite nice. I'll have my scores down below in the comments section. My scoring system's a little bit weird. You'll get used to it. Leave me a comment actually. What do you think of the Glendronach range? Do you have a favourite? Are you sad that the Glendronach 15 isn't the same as it used to be? It's not a worthwhile comparison. I'll just quickly say I've never tried the old Glendronach 15, but they were, from what I know of the old Glendronach 15, I mean the finishes were completely different for starters, but also the cask, the age of it itself, it was completely different. It was a totally different whiskey. I get that people miss it. It was cracking value for the money you paid for it. Amongst other things, that'll be one of the reasons you miss it. This is always going to struggle by comparison. It's going to be like the awkward middle child. It's still a really good whiskey. So stop being a Debbie Downer on it, because it's still nice. Yeah, I've not tried the old one. You can probably tell because I'm not, you know, bleeding from the nipples. What? I just had like a triple espresso martini, so I'm a bit out of it. I'm a bit weird right now, aren't I? Thumb this video if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because I do this a bit. And do join me next time, where I'll be drinking something else.